I don't think I've made it a secret here that Gawain is one of my favorite characters in Four Knights of the Apocalypse. Does that mean I don't like any of the other characters outside of her? Of course not. I love Lancelot and Bellegarde a lot more than I do for her, but overall I do enjoy her character and I find her to be very fun and I like her story. But there has been a lot of hatred towards Gawain, basically ever since her introduction in the fandom for a multitude of reasons, many of which is primarily because they consider her a Escanor replacement or a Escanor 2.0 or just somebody who's a cheap Escanor, stuff like that. And the constant comparison to Escanor is something that I might have actually played a part in comparing it to her in certain aspects, but overall, these statements are clearly not true because the only real connections people bring over between her and Escanor is part of her outfit, her powers, and her prideful demeanor. But that's really it. That doesn't mean they're the exact same character and that they have the exact same story going for them. And so in this video, I want to talk to you guys about why Gawain is not Escanor 2.0 and she's not Escanor's replacement, and how she's her own character and has her own story within Four Knights of the Apocalypse. Now, this video is going to be spoiling stuff to the current pace of the manga, chapter 154, right around the time skip and beforehand, so I'll be talking about Gawain's story up until then. Things could change by the time we get introduced to Gawain post-time skip, but for now, this is where I'm going to be going, leading with this video. And I hope I can clear up some things regarding Gawain with you guys. But before we jump into things, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps and shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. I've already made multiple videos for Tristan and Percival, and I think one video for Lancelot, and I haven't done an actual Gawain solo video at all outside of the theory video for her. So at this point, I would have covered all Four Knights of the Apocalypse in her own specific videos, so I might do more of these. But anyway, on to the video. So, like I stated, one of the main concerns that people have, that they throw hatred towards Gawain or just don't like her, is because they consider her a carbon copy of Escanor, or the fact that she has Escanor's sunshine powers. First, let me just nip the sunshine thing in the bed. First off, her power is not called Sunshine, it is called Dawn. It is an entirely different power name, and for all we know, it's a different subsect of Sunshine. We don't even know 100% that it is fully Sunshine, but it could have just been an entirely different transformation as it found its way to Gawain. How it's used, how it's utilized, it's completely different from how Escanor does so, besides that one or two sun attacks that Gawain has done, and they're not even to the same extent as Escanor. And Gawain isn't the exact same person as Escanor. She has her own personality traits and her own story that's being told in Four Knights of the Apocalypse. Before I get into Gawain, let me just go over Escanor. Now look, I, like many others, love Big Daddy Sunshine himself. Escanor is my favorite character in Seven Deadly Sins, with Bon at a very close second. But no matter what, I will always say that Escanor is probably one of the best parts of Seven Deadly Sins, at least for me. And a lot of people think so as well, which is why it's so hard for others to accept that a new character in a sequel series following the next generation has similar abilities and traits to Escanor. But that's really where things end. Gawain is kind of prideful, but not in the same prideful manner as Escanor. Her abilities aren't the exact same way as Escanor, not utilized in the exact same way. Escanor is a character who, after getting the power of Sunshine at a young age and being viewed of as a monster for his eye control and having to run away from his home kingdom, searched for a place to belong in fear of his own power, and his prideful nature is basically more or less a way for him to deal with the fear others place upon him due to his overwhelming strength. Escanor in the daytime and the nighttime are not two separate personalities. Escanor in the daytime is him overflowing with power, believing in himself a lot more, but also using it as a way to have confidence in what he wants to do, what he needs to do, and what he needs to say. But at the same time, as a coping mechanism for the fear and vitriol that regular people would have for him after seeing him in his daytime form. The one form most likely, because that can be a bit of a monstrous form for others to view. And this is shown in the Escanor flashback when he first met the Seven Deadly Sins. He was afraid of hurting regular people. Even in daytime form, he would cry, he would be scared. He did not want to hurt others and lose control. He was on the run for the majority of his life. he had nowhere to belong, no one to rely on, and thus he had to rely on himself. Thus, the prideful nature of daytime Escanor makes a lot of sense. It's a way for him to fully rely on himself to survive during the day, and as a way to not let others that view him in a specific light not bother him. Nighttime Escanor, while still relatively meek and cowardly to an extent, and also weak as hell, still has his own sense of duties. He's still true to himself when the time comes, and he won't back down when it has to be time for him to defend others or stand up for what he believes in. The prideful nature of Escanor is purely done to emphasize those aspects of him, while for a good chunk of his life used to protect himself from any hate and vitriol, as well as to keep himself from hurting others. And that strength kept others at arm's length until he met the 7 deadly sins, until Meliodas knocked him to the ground upon first witnessing the one form in midday, and telling Escanor that everything will be okay and to believe in them, and that he'll make sure that Escanor doesn't hurt others, and Escanor can rely on the others to be there for him, and they'll rely on Escanor when the times come. And this comes full circle in the Holy War arc, and then in the final arc for Escanor, the fight against the Demon King, where he willingly gives up Sunshine to Mael in order to face off against the original demon, giving up the power that made him as strong as he was to help out the people that truly cared for him, and then getting it back in the Demon King arc despite his life coming short to help his friends, his new family, to fight for their lives to save his friends. And all comes full circle when once Escanor, fighting the Demon King one-on-one, decides to use his own life force as fuel to take on the Demon King, giving up his life for the sake of his friends, only for his friends to finally get through to him in the one way that matters, and that is to fight alongside each other and to rely on each other at the end of the day. Being prideful in his allies and the people that he cares about and not in himself. Letting them in fully, he found not only the people that view him as an equal, but those that care about him to no end, that they would stand by his side through thick and thin, and won't let him throw his life away. Something that Escanor himself has been craving for his entire life. That's the beauty of Escanor's story in 7 Deadly Sins. He's the prideful badass that backs up his claims every single time, whenever it counts and whenever it matters. But at the end of the day, he's a fragile person deep down who finally started to find a place that he belonged to, finally accepted the power that he's had, and is happy at the place that he's at. Now with Gawain, it is a different story. Yes, she does have a yearning for a place that she belongs, but in a different manner than Escanor. Gawain's story is one that has been drip-fed to us ever since the end of the Leonis arc, and on key cues matters in her overarching story. Hers, in a similar way to Escanor, is to find a place to belong, but it's more so a journey of self-discovery and self-acceptance in a much different light. Yes, Gawain is prideful when she's arrogant, but Escanor was prideful and arrogant in the sense that he was prideful in himself and in others. He would do so in order to protect his allies, but Gawain was just full-on ego. She let her emotions get the best of her and would automatically crack whenever her pride was shattered. AKA her battle with Pelgard, when she lost, she started wailing like a baby because all she knew was that she was strong and that others would continuously prop her up. Escanor could back up his shit because he has done all this stuff against tough opponents, and he had others that would believe in him, and he knew that there were others that were strong enough to keep him in line in certain aspects, but also knew that he was strong enough to protect them. Gawain did not have that environment. She was a spoiled, pampered brat from her grandparents, but at the same time, there were aspects of her that she wanted to know. She didn't know who her mother was. She didn't know how she came to be. She doesn't know why she can't feel the feeling of love, something that Escanor himself has known since he was a child. Gawain doesn't know what it means to love anybody, or what it means to feel loved. She also seemingly is the only person in Camelot that actually has like romantic feelings, or at least an attraction towards women, which is another thing that she really is scared over. It's how she is presented in the story and how her interactions with Mortledge really emphasizes the internal struggle that she has. The questions, the uncomfortability of the environment and life that she's lived. She doesn't want to be pampered in Camelot because there's no answers for her there. No one gives her anything that she truly wants. answers as to who she is and what she is. When it comes to her interactions with others, she doesn't fully understand the concept of love, and to an extent, she is both puzzled and kinda jealous, especially when she views Tristan and Isolde together, and also when it came to the Demon Realm arc, she thought that no one really valued her that much. She wanted them to leave. She started to care for them and see them facing against adversity and tackling the world, and admired that, and thought if she stuck with them, she would end up finding the answers that she felt that needed answering, and to find a place where she truly felt at home, which is something that she never truly felt in Camelot. It's purely on her dialogue with Mortledge, how she talked about her grandparents, and how she reacted after Arthur came to Leonis, and how willing she was to go with Tristan despite being a Knight of Camelot and the niece of King Arthur. A world where you don't really need for anything, yet the answers you truly want are not available to you, you'll feel isolated from others, and you'll close yourself off, which I believe is why Gawain acts all prideful and arrogant in her own way, you know, other than being pampered by her grandparents from what's being told to us, is to essentially not feel any pain towards being by herself. But that obviously is heartbreaking to her, and that's why Mortledge is able to push her buttons through the Demon Realm arc, and why when Percival, Tristan, and Lancelot jumped in to save her from being a captive of the Chaos Knights, she felt like she actually found a place where she belonged in that instance, that they were willing to give up, risk their mission to save her from the Knights, and they all have their own ways of paying her back and appreciating her. Which, once Percival dies in chapter 228, in the extra pages of volume, I believe, 14, Gawain is looking very somberly with Percival after he promised that they would face whatever hardships together, as she thinks she finally found a group of friends that she can truly rely on, and people that she could have their back, that have her back, and through this journey figure out who she truly is and what makes her who she is. Discover her origins and what makes her different from others. Or with Escanor, it was about finding people that could not only keep him in check, but to find those that wouldn't be afraid of him, and those that he could treasure as his own. Gawain is a place where she belongs, and to find out who she is, a journey of self-discovery and self-acceptance in a much different manner than Escanor. As these two characters have been in entirely different environments and have had different ways of upbringings and survival through their lives, with Escanor being by himself for the majority of his life, afraid of hurting others, and thus his prideful personality didn't help much, but it helped ease the pain for him. With Gawain pretending and just adding on to her own ego to isolate herself from others in a sense, and not really feel the isolation that she's put herself in, and not fully think about these things that she has no idea about, and she constantly wants these answers. That's what makes Gawain's story interesting. It's what makes it more fun to watch, because seeing her actually develop bonds with the rest of the four knights, with the rest of the main cast, and thus explore this world with different character interactions and finding out more about herself. The idea of finding out her origins, who her mother was, how she got her powers, that's not really a thing for her, but figuring out about her powers could be another thing. Why she likes women, why she can't feel the concept of love, why she doesn't understand the concept of love. All these different things tie into somebody who is deeply sad and lonely, that wants to find her place in the world and find out what she truly is. And that's a story that a lot of people can relate to. That's what makes Gawain one of the most relatable characters in Four Knights. While Tristan's story I've gone over is more so accepting not only that he's not his parents and that he doesn't have to live up to their standards, he's his own person with his own abilities, as well as not having to worry about losing control to his demon side that he's afraid of, which I've stated is probably a plot point that Nakba should have kept with Meliodas, but he's instead exploring it more with Tristan and how he's been brought up. Gawain is exploring more of a sense of identity, more of a sense of belonging in a much different capacity than what we've seen with Escanor. I think that's a really good way to describe Gawain's character. Somebody who feels isolated from the world and has no idea her place in it and who she is. Many people feel this way in real life, and sometimes having others around you that accept you for who you are and are willing to help you and support you through these times and help you find the answers you're looking for is not only a great message to be told to the audience, but also is a great way to develop a character that at the end of the day is just a girl who wants a place to belong and what makes her different from others. It's the core difference that I have to say between Escanor and Gawain, and why they're not carbon copies of each other. Now, a lot of people, now honestly, a big criticism I state that people really don't like is the fact, and I've stated this briefly, is the fact that she has sunshine, quote unquote. It's a different power name that we got in like volume 14 or volume 13 of Four Knights of the Apocalypse, where we got all the Four Knights magic ability names. Hers is Dawn, and it works differently than Sunshine in comparison to Escanor, where Escanor, his power would increase during the day, reaching its peak at noon, and then slowly get weaker as we were reaching dusk and nighttime. Meanwhile, with Gawain, as we saw, her buff physique is done purely through building up magical power and unleashing it to maintain that form. Also utilizes her fiery magic in different ways, like exploding it out into big golden auras of fire and even encasing herself in it. Meanwhile, Escanor just uses a bunch of sun attacks or bursting sun blasts at his opponents, and he just grows stronger every day. Gawain's powers are temporary, in the sense that they need to be maintained and monitored by her. Meanwhile, Escanor's was more so over the course of the day and easily monitored, and you can tell when he'll get stronger and when he'll slowly get weaker, and when he can be around others. And based off this, Gawain can probably turn it off whenever she wants, but at the same time, if we really want to stretch it, how her ability works, how her buff form and regular states are different than Escanor's is probably because it pertains to her overall emotional and mental state. Because when she is in her buff form, she's overly confident and she can take hits. She's a tank more or less, and she can do a lot more and feels a lot more confident in that state. She's more of a bruiser. But when she's not in her buff form, she's more of a troll, a jokester, someone who likes to mess with her opponents and cast different spells to throw them off their game. But like both sides of her, she is very likely to crack, and her true self can peek out from either state because, like I stated, her prideful manner is basically an act to hide her true self, a scared, lonely girl who just wants to find her place and to feel accepted by others. And that is why her powers don't really pertain to getting strong, getting weak at how the day goes like Escanor. Hers are about building up power, and then it expends over time. Obviously, I can be reading way too far deep into this, and there could be an entirely different explanation to this, but I just want to put my 2 cents on the matter for how that works. Because in either form that she's in, she builds up her ego, but it could easily come crashing down if at the slightest provocation or the biggest defeat, and honestly blow to her own self-pride. She's easily infuriated, she's easily poked at. She doesn't really take these things very well, especially when she pours her heart out and her concerns and what she wants, but when someone denies her, it will really set her off. And that's kind of why she and Tristan are probably a really great duo that we saw in the Demon Realm arc. Gawain was just overall starting to accept her role in things. She was accepting everyone's support and her place in this group, and how everybody comes together and supports each other, and acknowledges the fact that she's kind of a failure like Tristan to an extent, a washout as the official translation gives us, and wants to go beyond it, working with Tristan, helping him out, having his back and him having her back, showcasing she's starting to fully open up to others and accept her place in the group, and wanting to really get close to them, to really explore this feeling of belonging that she's never truly felt. And that's why Percival leaving would hit her very hard, especially after this big step forward that she's had. But I think once she meets Percival again post time skip, she will end up having a bunch of conflicting feelings and has a lot of choice words for Percival. And perhaps she dug herself even deeper into a shell than when we first met her. Gawain is still going to be one of my favorite characters in Four Knights of the Apocalypse, unless some way, shape, or form Nakba ruins her at the end of the day. But I have faith, he's done a good job with their characterization so far, and I have faith that she'll be still one of my favorites by the end. But a lot of the things that I mentioned here, wanting to find a place to belong, discovering herself and who she is, and accepting herself, finding others that she can accept into her world, and having their backs and being there for them in return, is a very cool plot beat that I want to see more explored in Four Knights, and I'm sure will be fully explored in Four Knights, as we've had that as a big focus in the Demon Realm arc pre-time skip. and her powers most likely change and evolve as the story progresses to reflect her own personal changes, same as we've seen with Donnie and Ann's powers, and even Nazienne's in more frequent terms, with discovering who they truly are, and even Percival to an extent as well. It is an incredibly big thing that I hate when people say that Gawain is an Escanor copy in Escanor 2.0. Honestly, the majority of the people that say this are just pissed off that the person that has a similar power set to Escanor is a girl. That really shouldn't matter, and they're entirely different characters at the end of the day. That's really the biggest concern you have about Gawain and why you don't like her. 2 pieces of advice. Go touch some grass and actually speak to a woman. Those are not criticisms, those are just insecurities and just dumb nitpicks. I've explained this throughout the video. She is not Escanor 2.0. She's her own character with her own story to be told, and it is a good one thus far. It is one that can be fully explored in a multitude of different ways, with the key being her interactions with the main cast, and I am very much looking forward to that, and so are other people in the Four Knights Apocalypse community, that I'm sure, and those that do enjoy Gawain's character as well. Now, does this take away that Escanor is my favorite character in the entire franchise? Hell no. I love myself Big Daddy Sunshine, as does everybody else, and it doesn't take away any of my care and love for the other characters in the series. But I said my 2 piece. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below how you felt about this video, my talking points, anything that I missed about her character that I ended up glossing over or didn't get too deep into the detail. How do you feel about Gawain now after watching this video? Do you still not like Gawain? Give me your reasons in the comments below. As well as what other characters you'd like me to start trying to do more deeper dives into in the future for Four Knights. I'm going to try and do more discussion and deep dive videos for the characters in the future, and these are just a lot more fun for me. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps and ensures you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. I'm calling it now, Gawain's post timeskip design is probably going to be a lot better than her pre-timeskip design. I enjoyed her previous design, but it just started to not feel right when she was in buff form. And I think I've kind of outgrown it.